What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be answering the question, should your church be live streaming on YouTube? It's kind of a touchy subject depending on what type of church and denomination that you actually attend, but I'm going to jump into the pros and the cons of live streaming on YouTube. If you're a pastor, if you're a church member, or if you're just someone in influence of a church, you should listen to this video all the way through. We're going to talk about the pros and cons. Let's jump in it. All right, so for me personally, I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. I grew up very conservative in the Church of Christ. And for me professionally, as I got older, I got out of college, I spent the first 7 or so years of my career in sports radio and television. So I say that to kind of set up the rest of this. So again, I grew up very conservative, and the church I went to did not do live streaming, didn't do any type of content, didn't do anything. Now, I left this church, left this denomination, man, probably back in 2018, 2019. So it's been a few years, you could say, and things have changed. Pandemic kind of forced a lot of churches more conservatively to look at live streaming, to look at just even recording their sermons or their meetings, and put it on Vimeo, YouTube, whatever. Their website could be a Dropbox, but they had to transition and find a way to actually record their content to get it to the members of that church. And that's the same very thing that happened to the church that I grew up in. Not a small church, not a large church, kind of like a medium sized church. I mean, floating around 100 to 150 members that show up each and every Sunday and Wednesday night. And so, again, professionally, I was in broadcasting and I was still attending this church throughout. But I guess you could say my soul, my faith, like I just always felt like I was living my parents' faith, and I didn't really have buy-in in terms of like my relational faith with Jesus, and I didn't I was just going through the motions type of thing. And so the entire landscape of 2020 and what the pandemic did really changed a lot of things. Now in 2025, you still have tons of churches. When I say tons, thousands and thousands of churches in the United States that still have not transitioned to any type of production, any type of live streaming, or any type of recording, video recording of their sermons. Now, back in the day, okay, these types of churches, these Church of Christ that I grew up going and attending, they did a ton of like audio tapes, right? So you're talking old media type of format. And so they'd be passed around, they'd be given, they would have, some type of debate, right? With like a liberal versus conservative Church of Christ preacher. And so they were very common, and honestly, probably kind of on like the cutting edge in terms of like old media and distribution of that. And so the question then comes back that I posed in the very beginning, but I'm going to add this question too. That original one is, should your church be live streaming on YouTube? And then why isn't your church live streaming on YouTube? Now, depending on what type of church that you're in, and you're a preacher, you're a pastor, you're a leader of this church, you're probably going to look at what the tithe is, how you look at that biblically, where does those funds actually go? And so I believe in this. I believe in the Great Commission. Not saying that these churches don't, but in terms of technology and what's the easiest way to spread the gospel. Live streaming is one of it, but video content is definitely the top of any type of media right now. Any type of distribution, you're talking about older, style churches are still printing off pamphlets and going door to door and leaving these and doing mailers. And it's really just kind of focused within surrounding the actual physical building of the property of the church. And so I'm going to push this narrative in this video of what the Great Commission is what it looks like in 2025, and a couple different ideas for you to think about. Now, when Jesus tells the disciples in Matthew 28 to go to all nations and spread the gospel, I'm paraphrasing there, but Jesus, when he comes back to the disciples, is very clear about what the disciples, the apostles, are to do now that he has risen, and now they're to go spread the gospel, salvation in his name. So when you think about the idea of why do churches struggle to get beyond mailers and little info cards and, maybe putting an article in some type of magazine or something, and they're just looking at, in all honesty, and like this could be critical, but I want you to think about it as positive critique, okay? If you're a church leader, if you're a preacher, you're a pastor, you're a senior level type of position and authority and value in a church, you have to ask yourself the question, am I really spreading the gospel? Am I going to all nations? By taking the tithe, taking the funds that come in, we're going to spend some of it on, okay, a lot of church people don't like this, and leaders, very conservative churches, marketing, right? But at the end of the day, if you're recording on tape, like old school cassette, DVD, CD, Blu-ray, whatever, it's marketing, okay? So let's bring in I want to say secular term, but it's marketing, okay? So you're marketing the gospel, you're doing it in goodwill, right? Like I'm not saying that you're not, but you're only focused on around the people, generally around your building. It could be within the city, maybe even statewide. But I'm challenging you to think bigger. Why is live streaming the bigger thought, the bigger picture, the reaching the nations picture? Well, it's quite simple. Live streaming and going into YouTube right now, just from a true data source. So I'm going to bring up this chart right now. And this chart is from Nielsen Total TV and Streaming ratings back in 2024. It's taken at the very end of the year to get the most accurate data and analytics out there. And so if you look at all the streaming devices, all the different platforms, all the paid subscriptions like Netflix, you're talking about Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever, like whatever platform that you enjoy and you purchase each month, you're paying for it, right? And you're getting a certain type of content. So this is streaming on TV devices. If you look at Nielsen's data research from the very end of 2024 heading into this year, YouTube was at 11.1% over all of, so it's a snapshot, but it's 11.1% of the whole TV streaming analytical traffic. If you look at Netflix, which is right behind them, Netflix was at 8.5%. YouTube app for smart televisions, it's free. Now, if you want to get past the ads, well, then you just jump in and all you have to do is pay whatever YouTube Premium is. But when you look at an app in itself, and it's a free app, and you can go in there and not saying that you binge watch certain shows, but you jump into certain types of creative content that you just really, really enjoy. Okay, so if the app is free versus where Netflix and all these other ones are paid apps, for the most part, on this chart, you got to look at where the actual opportunity is right now in the landscape of actually reaching people. And so I truly believe that each church, each person, each leader that gets up on that pulpit, up on that stage in front of a local congregation. And if your church is live streaming, this is great, but I'm going to have another challenge for you. But the point that I want to make is that I truly believe that God has given you the ability. So I'm speaking to you pastors, you preachers, you leaders that are speaking and leading the local congregation at your church. God has given you a very unique ability to speak to really, at the end of the day, one type of individual. And in marketing, we break that down to an avatar. And what is an avatar? Really simply put, an avatar is just a metric that takes a lot of different categories. It could be male, female, age, like geographical location, and you take all these pieces of data, and then that would become your avatar. So let's say on this channel, the main type of avatar that's watching this video right now may be a 40-year-old male who lives in the United States, primarily southern states. And I can tell from traffic sources that you're probably most likely conservative in terms of politically. And so I would take that data and say, okay, how can I speak to this one type of person in this very unique way? And so live streaming, when you do it with a data analytical approach and you mix church into it, or just content in general, but we're talking about live streaming here, is that your church's ability, the people, the style that you deliver the gospel and bring salvation to people, I truly believe that the Holy Spirit is giving you a unique way to speak to a one type of avatar. And it's most likely very similar to the type of people that gravitate to your church in person. And so if you're going to reach the nations and you're going to reach millions of people, there's nothing wrong with being incredibly, uniquely Holy Spirit breathed and gifted in reaching one type of person, because that person could be close to committing suicide. They're they're so in the depths of life and they just need encouragement. And so where do they go? They go to the platform that's getting the most traffic on their smart TV and their devices, and it's free. And they go to YouTube and they find your church's YouTube channel and they hit subscribe. And then your channel becomes supplemental church for them, because most likely they're going to be attending a church in person somewhere, but they're not being fed where they're at. Maybe their church isn't exactly gifted to walk them through what exact season and point of life. Maybe it's a communication style that they're seeking that they just can't find somewhere around them. But during the week, at any given moment, they can find your YouTube channel and they can be inspired by the gospel, by the way you communicate, and you can connect to them. Isn't that what you do in person? But your reach, who you're discipling, who you're impacting and changing lives, is literally just the four corners of the building with the people that congregate, the people that come, the Christians that come, the lost people that come. And where are you marketing? Where are you printing pamphlets, or, where are you handing out info cards? What doors are you knocking on? Most likely, if you're to be honest, you're doing it around the surrounding area. Could be just a city. It could be a very large city. It could be even statewide. But I challenge you, think bigger. Jesus was thinking the biggest of all time, all nations, that his message of salvation through him would reach all nations. So the question is, live streaming for churches, are you doing it? Or why are you not doing it? I want to challenge you with that question. I want you to dive into that question. And I want to encourage you that if you're not currently live streaming, to think about all of the lives that you can have an internal impact on, that right now they have no idea that you exist. And honestly, if they found your YouTube channel, it could change their lives, their eternal lives forever, because you have a Holy Spirit, godly, unique gift at your church that's special. That's why people have joined and, the church has grown. You have a way to deliver the gospel and love on people, love on lost people, a very unique way. And it's God gifted, it's God breathed, right? And so I want to encourage you, let's expand that. Let's think bigger, okay? Let's think all nations, the world, globally, and YouTube is the platform that you can do that on. No other platform you can. Okay, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, yes, there are algorithms. You can create short form content. Facebook, you can put a lot of money in marketing in terms of ad spend. If you're a church that does some of that, then you're going to understand what I'm saying with that. But you're always paying at some point, especially on Facebook, to reach that same audience. On YouTube, if you create really good content and you take the first step, you get a couple cameras, you get some mics, you get it set up within the ecosystem to just have your church and the messaging and the lessons and the discipleship online. And you live stream, you take the first step. I'm going to have other videos down the pipeline that I'm going to create on very strategic ways that if you're a church and you're already live streaming, but you're not seeing views, what can you do to actually get more views? In my mind, a lot of people think it's vanity metrics, especially in terms of Christian content, but you have to think on it on the opposite side. It's the more views you get and the more traction you get within YouTube, the more people that you're touching, first point with, in terms of maybe they've never heard the gospel, or maybe they need to be encouraged all the way through because they're at like the very end of whatever that journey is. But the views, the subscribers, the growth, it's people that need to be a part of a community, a spiritual community that's going to feed them and walk them through whatever portion, whatever season they're in. They are deeply needing your church and your messaging and your way to communicate the gospel so bad, because the enemy is filthy, he's nasty, and he's everywhere. And if you're a faith-filled believer and you're watching this, you know how true it is. Spiritual warfare, I'm not going to dive into it, but just on the front, just to barely touch it here. Spiritual warfare is real, and the enemy is constantly attacking you and attacking people you know and people around you. And what you have to do is constantly be encouraged, take it day by day, and just try to compartmentalize whatever structurally what's happening with your day to always give thanks to God. But I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to encourage, again, I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. If you're a pastor, if you're a leader at a church, or if you're a member of a church and your church is not yet live streaming, I want you to think, again, big picture, big value point. And if you're a church member, think of this. If you're attending and you're being fed a certain way, and like this incredible team, this incredible church team is feeding you weekly, wouldn't it be great if thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people per year could get that same experience that you're getting? Yeah, it's streaming. Yeah, it's digital. Yeah, it's through their TV or mobile device. But the same way that church team, those spiritual leaders are sowing into your life, wouldn't it be great to have other people experience the same thing? That's my challenge to you today. Again, a lot of this research is pretty black and white. It is, at this point in 2025, something that I feel so passionate about because the data's there. What tools do we have? And look, I mean, it's YouTube. It's free. And I'm going to keep creating content and helping, hopefully, church leaders and church members just look into to grow their team, to help take some of these tidbits, some of these like strategic views or strategies that I'm going to be sharing on this channel to hopefully implement in their team and look at the platform a little bit differently. And really, my last thought, I mean, I just said this was my spot, but my last thought is, if your church is already live streaming, I'm going to do another video in a couple days or down the line that's going to be really focused in on, if you're already live streaming, why aren't you strategically creating more engaging content and being more strategic within the algorithms to actually get into the funnels, bring more people into your long form content, which is your sermons, your live streams, could be your podcast, could be any type of thing that is long form, 20 plus minutes. Why aren't you strategically playing the game and your team is focused on creating engaging, compelling, life-changing, short-form content, long-form content to lead to what you would do on Sunday? So that's something I'm going to push down the line. But this one, I really want to just start and challenge churches, church members, preachers, pastors, leaders at these congregations that if you're not live streaming, ask yourself, why are we not? And then ask yourself, are we really doing Matthew 28, the Great Commission? All right, that's going to do it for this video. Drop a comment, hit a like, and just let me know if you got any thoughts on this one. If you got any redirection and you want me to dive in more strategically, different areas that creatives at churches can actually focus on to help their church's YouTube channel grow, or just their social content in general, drop those comments below. I'll get to them and then I'll throw them on a piece of paper, and at some time in the near future, I'll film a video on it. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.